fun today. We got to play Merchants of Magic.
That's right. Merchants of Magic.
There was some other stuff. You can read it on the box if you're that interested. All right, but before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. So, this is a roll-in, right? So, we're excited.
Or as I like to call it, a scratch and sniff.
Yeah. Kevin, can you tell us a little bit more about this particular game?
Sure. Like you said, its name is Merchants of Magic. A set a watch tale. It's got a Board Game Geek rating of 7.6. It's ranked 5,032. It plays 1 to 8 players. They say that it takes about 45 to 60 minutes. That's about right. That's not bad.
As long as you're paying attention to whose turn it is to roll the dice.
Right, yes. Yes. Paying attention to dice rolling time is important. But even then, it doesn't take much longer. So
yeah.
The age that they say is about 10 and up. I think that's fair.
So Sarah was able to play this. She's 8.5. But there was a little bit of struggle at the beginning. Just trying to understand because where it breaks up like plate armor of the dragons, knowing that you have to get 2 different things. Like for her, there was some little confusion. She did get it towards the end. So she actually scored better than one of the other players that was playing.
But she's been playing complex games since she was like 3.
Yeah, it really does depend upon the level of the younger person's play level.
I agree. 10 is probably about right. But if you have an 8 or 9-year-old that is really familiar with games, they might be able to catch on with some help. So
yeah, I mean, it's like playing with an adult who's not always great at games.
Or just hasn't been exposed to very many.
Yeah, true. So it was designed by Clarence Simpson. The art is T.L. Simmons and Boris Spenisic. Spenisic, I think is how you pronounce it. It was published by Rock Manor Games. The MSRP is $29.95.
Miniature Market.
Miniature Market, that's
right. $22.99, and Amazon is selling it for $40.
Yeah, so Amazon's selling it $10 over MSRP. So
yeah, all right.
Probably don't go there.
Yeah, well, unless you're desperate, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what you got at your house, you know. All right, so let's talk about the quality of components. So this is mostly you do have cards is a big component. There is no linen finish. They are pretty slick, but they are pretty good thickness. You have. I like the fact that the potions are in fact different colors, so they could have just went standard and did one color, but they chose not to do that, and I'm very grateful that they did because they put purple, so that's the important piece. Then you do have these marble-looking not marble, kind of stone.
Like a bowling ball.
It's plastic. It's granite-y, marbly.
Granite-y marble dice. And then you also just have your actual roll and write paper that you use both sides to. That's just pretty standard as far as paper goes.
They should have considered the yellow to have maybe a different color for the numbers. Right on yellow,
a darker color.
Easy to see.
Yeah, that was.
I do want to point out too, though, that so these are color coded on the sheet here, but on the card, sometimes it's hard to tell what the color is depending on the color of the card, but the symbols also match.
Yes.
So you can tell
that
way.
Have symbology.
Yeah. So that's pretty nice.
Iconography.
So overall quality of components, I mean, it is a roll and write, right? So you're not expecting amazing things, but I do like the fact like they did do the extra colors on the potions. They are pretty dice. So for me, I'm probably going to give this probably a 6 because there's a little bit, but not a lot there. So what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I think a 6 is a pretty fair assessment of this game.
I was going to go 7 because for me, it's not just about the quality. Is it distracting? And there was nothing distracting about the quality of these components. I liked them. 7.
Okay.
I'm also going to go 7, just because the little tray that you roll the dice in, I think that's a really clever way to...
That wasn't... We have that. That's ours.
Oh, my bad.
Tray does not come included.
6.5.
Friendship has its benefits.
We upgrade a lot of things around here. Okay.
All right. So let's.
Speaking of which, how long have you been married to Randy? It will be 6 years in February.
Big upgrade.
For me too. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the actual theme. Now, the art is pretty amazing. I loved the details on the cards. They've got their weapons or whatever, but you can tell that they were enchanted with whatever due to the art. And I loved the color palette they ended up choosing. So basically, you are a crafter. You're doing research, so you're learning how to develop new weapons, new gear, new things like that. And obviously, you're trying to fulfill orders. I always love this theme. This one always gets me because I get to like craft and order placement. It's my thing. So I actually really enjoyed this, and I really think they did a great job on the art for that. And like you said, it's not distracting. The colors are work well, and so it's pretty, but it's not distracting, and that's really good in a game like this. So for me, for theme, because it's my theme, I love it so much. And the art was pretty great. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. So because I really like this theme. What about you guys? What are you thinking?
I think that's high. I didn't. I mean, I like the art, but like I said, it wasn't distracting. So 7.5.
I'm an 8 also, I think, on that. The art is really fantastic.
I think that the art is very good. The iconography that goes well with the theme.
I didn't even see the iconography. I was so focused on the words.
Yeah, well, that's okay. There's a lot of iconography. The only thing that was a little hard, I think, to read was some of the numbers. At first I saw the 6 and I thought it was a glyph, but it is indeed a 6.
Yes.
And so, maybe, but I understand why they did that. It fit the theme. I mean, it really did fit the theme.
It looks like a numeral off of a rune.
So,
even though runes do, whatever.
Yeah, and so because of that, because of how much it all fits together, I think I'm actually going to go an 8.5.
Yeah. And I like we talk about artwork, but there is a lot to actually the gameplay involved. The fact that you've got the orders, the fact that you're trying to research these different enchantments and how to make things. And so for me, it's something that I truly love, and I love in video games, and I love it in board games. So I love that piece. Yeah. All right, so now let's move on to the rule book. So Randy gave instructions for us on how to present this. So pet peeve number 1: there's no
art cover.
There's no art cover.
Randy's not even in this video, and we got to talk about his pet peeve.
But honestly, I'm kind of with him on this. I mean, I'm a rules guy. I like to read the rule book. I like to see something that's nice on front. It's just appealing. Now, does that take away from the actual rules themselves? No, but it's still nice to have it.
Oh yeah, it's still nice.
And then Randy told me that as he was reading it, that there were a lot of one-line things without much description. If you're going to have rules, you got to be able to describe your rules so that there's no questions. That's one of my big pet peeves. Happens a lot in games where you just don't have a complete, thorough explanation of the rules.
So, and I think one of those examples is that we played this game 3 different times, and each time we were like, "Oh, duh!" Like we found a rule, and we were like, "Oh, duh!" Like so. One of the first ones is like this one. For your sponsored adventurer, there's 3 different ones, and we'll talk about this in a minute, that you're supposed to complete for your sponsored adventurer, right? This is the only card that stays with you. Everything else kind of rotates. And so this has 3 things. Now, so Randy was like, oh, when you complete 3, you get 6 points. That's all you get, okay? And then he was saying, when you get the cards, right, because these are orders, when you complete an order, then you fill in these circles, okay? But when I was looking at it, I was like, Randy, are you sure these aren't 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This says sponsored adventure above the tab, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense." Like, duh. And then the same thing over here with the charms that give you bonus points. It's like per card. When we were originally thinking, because the way it read, it was kind of unclear. We thought so. There was a couple examples where it's like they could have been a little more clear on the explanation, just to iterate. Like when you look at it, you're like, oh, when someone explains it to you, you're like, well, duh. But then if you're reading it, trying to figure it out, you encounter some things.
Sure.
So those are some of the examples in the rule book that,
Based off of what Randy has told me and what I've seen myself, we're going to say a 5 for this one.
Yeah. So, all right. Now let's actually talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay starts where everyone has their wonderful little sheets, and there's 10. There's 10 different rounds to this. So at the beginning, everyone has 3 cards up here. They are order cards. So basically, you'll get 3 in the pile. Now, that first time, you get to choose the order that they're placed in front of you because they will roll off. And you'll get person from the side. So, for example, in this particular instant, plate armor is really going to be hard to get. There's no way I'm going to do that in one round, so I'm going to place that on the one that's going to fall off. And then I'm going to say, okay, well, and then I'll just place based on that piece of it. So I will put that in there. And then the first player will end up rolling the dice. So the dice is rolled, okay? And you'll write those numbers here in this top queue here. You'll be able to use 2 of those unless you do things to get more, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Now, there is 2 portions of this board. Now, one thing I really wish they did is they made this divide a little more clear, like some type of art or something, because right now it's just a little tiny little dots.
Or even a
fiery
darker
wall.
solid line would have been fine too.
Solid line, I would have taken a solid line. Right, because, yeah. So on this side, you see numbers. For those numbers, you have to have dice that go higher.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones on the left, your dice has to be lower than that number. Now, why does that matter? Now, so if you'll notice up here at the top, like, you can only use the red die in the first 3 columns, and the purple in column 2, 3, and 4, yellow in 4, 5, and 6, and so on. Right, so you'll notice that up here. So basically, when I look at this dice, right, I need low numbers on the high dice and high numbers on the low dice, and then a mixture of the ones in the middle. So you'll go through. So those 4 dice, like I said, we'll write down. You'll pick 2 of those, and you get to fill in 2 circles, okay? Now, obviously, the goal is to complete an item, okay, or an enchantment. So once you do, you'll have it for the rest of the game. So it's not lost or whatever. So if you see, oh, I've got a shield, the person next to me has 2 shields, that person has a shield, well, I better get me a shield because there's 4 shields coming up, right? And so I may just need to add enchantments to those. So just kind of keep that in mind. So you fill in those 2. Now, if you're lucky enough that 2 of those complete an item, you'll circle the coins that are next to that item or enchantment. That's the victory points at the end of the game. But then you also are very fortunate to get a potion along with that. Okay? Now, potions are what can allow you to buy additional dice up here in this top corner. You can only have 6 additional dice throughout the whole entire game. The first 3 only cost 1 potion, and then it goes up to 2, 3, and 4 for that final 6 die. So potions are pretty important. Potions also modify the dice, which we had to use a lot in this game. I don't know about anybody else, but our rolling was not good this game.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
It was pretty awful.
Did you win?
A lot of
Yes.
So biased.
So each potion you have, you can use to modify either 1 up or 1 down. So it, whatever side of the board, you can make it to help benefit you.
So you could do more than 1.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
Just how many ever potions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cumulative.
I'm like, I was either cheating or I misunderstood.
So once you use the 2 dice, so this one is falling off. It's going to go this way. I'm going to take this one, slide this into here because that was what's up there. So now I have these 3 to work from the following round. Now, what happens when I actually complete an order? Okay, so in this case, I have fiery. I have crossbow. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to place it in these. I will get the victory points for this at the end of the game. Okay. Now, the one thing that we didn't talk about. So as you can see, these are the items. These are the enchantments, if you will. This is like the specialty, like you're from elves or from dwarves. So the craftsmanship that goes with it. And then down here is the charms. Now, charms are, so there's 1 like game alteration. So instead of 1 potion when you complete something, you get 3. But then the rest of them give you victory points based on the orders that you fulfill. Okay. But yeah, that's it. You play for 10 rounds, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game. Oh, there's one thing I didn't forget to mention is that you do have these cards. Now, these are very similar. If anyone's played Welcome to the Neighborhood or something like that, basically they have everyone. There's options that you can take and get these bonuses. But the first person who does gets 8, and then after that they're only worth 4. So it's beneficial. And they're not the first ones to do this or the last ones. That's the one I can think off the top of my head. So those do matter. So in this case, make 5 circles in the wood material column. So the wood material column is the center of this set. So it's column 2. So if you get 5 circles, then you would have that trigger. This one's something similar, but on a different column. I really like this game. It's, I normally like complex games. This is not a complex game, but I do love the research and development piece of it. I do like, you have to look at the cards that are coming up ahead to kind of plan for that. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I did not succeed. I think you just completed all the cards I was going to do.
Probably.
Note to self, do not sit to the left of Kevin.
Yeah. Pretty much. So there's that piece of it too. But I really do like that research and development, and then being able to trick, because you can, right? Because if you see a thing coming, you can end up picking quite a few up, which makes you feel so good.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, so I really like the way this is done, the mechanics of it. I had a lot of fun. It is on the more, I would go easy side, maybe easy to medium, but not quite. I wouldn't call it quite medium. I think pretty solid, pretty good. I really enjoyed this, so I'm giving it an 8. Like, I really liked it. What do you think?
I love roll and writes, scratch and sniffs. I just love getting a pencil out and marking something up. It makes me happy.
It is so nice.
I don't know why it makes me happy. I mean, we're building a store. We get to name our store. Mine was Divine Duds and Accessories. I give it an 8 too. I maybe 8.25. I loved it. I had fun. Even though I said
really getting fractional over there.
That's my thing. Don't you know?
I'm with you.
I usually do like 0.165. I think the whole quarter.
I'm also at an 8. I really enjoyed this. I like. I mean, it's not building, but it's building.
It is. Yeah. I'm right there with you.
So.
I'm actually going to go just a little lower. I'm going to go 7.5. And it's a good game. I enjoyed it. I like one of my favorite things about this game is actually being in somewhere where I'm having to fulfill orders for people, and seeing that sometimes things take a little longer to fulfill, and you have to keep those customers happy. I kind of like the fact that that item moves on to your next store,
awesome?
so that they can fulfill it instead of you, and you're like, oh man. So I like that. That's pretty funny, and it fits theme. And I should have mentioned that earlier in theme, but 7.5 it's just because I think it's a good game, but as far as my personal taste go, it's
too easy for you.
It's
not enough going on.
It's simple. I don't mind simple. One of my favorite games is Tokaido. So
that is very simple, but it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful, and it's so well thought out. But so I mean, I don't mind simple, but I don't know. I just there are a few things that I just would prefer a little different. But it was a good game. 7.5 is a good game.
Yeah, no, it was good. Definitely look into this, especially if you like roll and writes, especially if you like maybe some shop mechanics. And it'd be interesting to see an expansion that maybe goes more into that shop. Like, oh, you can hold 4 cards instead of 3, or oh, you can there's some things that they could do to really amp this up, and that would be very fantastic to see. So who knows what they got. Hopefully this won't be the last that we see of them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.